Mike Zeroh one
can't handle the truth.
You're a cheat and a swindler. That's what you are. How can you do a thing like this?
I am authorized to assure you these rumors are based on hysteria and are absolutely false. I repeat, these rumors are absolutely false.
However, behind the scenes, it's actually described that creator Jon Favreau is said to be leaving and quitting from a Star Wars project that has been giving issues for the past number of months. For the longest time now, Jon Favreau has been involved with one controversial Star Wars TV show, that being, of course, the Acolyte series by Kathleen Kennedy and Leslie Headland. Favreau was not only supervising the project, but he was also involved creatively on a large level that had to do with the lore and what would be inserted into the show. Favreau was a part of this for some months after Disney began to realize that the project was not going anywhere and having tons of issues. One main reason why Favreau left the series as a creative is that Kathleen Kennedy refused to even involve Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker in the form of a vision of the future, and even the godlike creatures called the Wills that were supposed to be big in the show that they agreed upon. This is something that both Favreau and Kennedy had agreed on to be used in the series until she called it off. Favreau also just recently decided to step down from the project, given that working close with Kathleen Kennedy only led to constant creative differences. This is the same exact thing that recently happened with, of course, Patty Jenkins of Rogue Squadron for, of course, 2023. Now, the show was going downhill for months, and Favreau stepped in to provide support in an attempt to save the show from being a complete disaster. With Favreau now gone, Bob Chapek is deeply worried about the show's future and whether or not they will begin to film on time in 2022. Leslie Headland, who is the writer of the series, also did not want or was not thrilled about Favreau joining in as a creative to take care of the series on different levels. Favreau was aware of course, which led to complications behind the scenes on figuring out the lore of what should be used in the new Star Wars series. Favreau is now focusing on his other projects alone in order to make sure that they can become a success and steer Star Wars in the right direction for the fandom to enjoy. Now, Favreau is making it clear to Kathleen Kennedy and Leslie Headland that, of course, they cannot work with those and that they hold a history of creative differences, as it only makes the job harder and more problematic.
Excuse me? A baking powder?
Given that now Favreau has more time for other projects, this will only mean good news for the series like Mandalorian, and even the Ahsoka series, and even the reformed version of Rangers of the New Republic, which is going to feature many new battles, such as the Battle of Jakku and others that we have yet to have seen in the Star Wars canon. So that leads us, of course, to what's been going on with a particular Star Wars TV series and creator George Lucas himself. Now, in case you guys did not know, we do have George, John, and Dave all working together as a trio to really kind of steer things in the right path, to really bring things on, of course, the right way in order to set things right for Star Wars Legends coming back into the mix and kind of mixing that in with the Disney canon to really create something very familiar yet very new at the same exact time. Now, on to George Lucas. What's really interesting about everything that has been happening is that not only is he working very closely with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, he was also regulating, of course, things that had to do with Kathleen Kennedy. So with shows like Star Wars Ahsoka and Kenobi moving well into different phases of development in order to create the most anticipated TV shows for Disney+, both Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are currently getting ready to actually do something truly special for the Mandoverse that's going to be unexpected to the entire fandom. However, behind the scenes, it's described that since the problems between Kathleen Kennedy and George Lucas over the Acolyte TV show, there have been many, of course, problems coming off of that show that have to do with Kathleen Kennedy. It's described that initially Lucas had a role on creating elements of the Acolyte series and was a part of the project for the past number of months in order to regulate, of course, the Star Wars TV series that was going in a downward spiral. until recently when Kathleen Kennedy broke her promise to keep some of George Lucas's creations in the show, when of course she deleted them from the series and has no plans of filming any of George's work or concepts for the Acolyte series. Now recently George Lucas had left the show altogether and quit from the projects and is said to no longer be credited for his involvement on the series. Many of his scenes that he was working on with Kathleen Kennedy were primarily used in order to actually directly tie things into the Star Wars prequels, and to also explore the Wills, who are godlike creatures. Lucas eventually took things up with Disney CEO Bob Chapek and discussed the issues of Kathleen Kennedy tossing his concepts and scenes from the Acolyte series, and had decided to leave the focus, of course, more on shows that are only associated with Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and other talented creators coming on board over at Lucasfilm. One of them, of course, being Rodriguez. Now, additionally, Lucas pushed for an Anakin Skywalker cameo in the form of a future vision in the Acolyte series to tap into the concept and history of the Chosen One prophecy that was going to be explored and was in the original script for Episode 5 of The Acolyte. This was also deleted by Kennedy as, of course, this time she felt that they were overusing Hayden Christensen and his return as Anakin and Vader, given that he is already attached to 3 other projects apart from what he was supposed to be involved in for the Acolyte show. Now, both Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have said they also have tried to convince Kennedy to keep and use all of Lucas's work for the Acolyte series. However, she's moving past that. Lucas, as of now, is no longer involved with the development of the story of the Acolyte, nor is he there to regulate the show to keep tabs on the lore and how it ties directly into the prequel trilogy movies. Now, this was a last-ditch effort, of course, by Lucasfilm, of course, and Lucas to regulate the series to prevent it from being a total disaster, and that he did indeed hold some control over the series before he decided to leave due to Kathleen Kennedy tossing his ideas of the Wills and Anakin Skywalker plus more. Lucas actually felt it served no purpose at all since his scenes were overall cancelled. Now, aside from that, it's described that a project currently in the works recently replaced Daisy Ridley as the character of Rey with actress Keira Knightley for the untitled Rise of Skywalker sequel series that is set to debut sometime in 2023. Now, it's noted that the main reason as to why Daisy Ridley did not want to return as Rey in the series was due to the amount of revenue that they were offering Daisy that did not meet her expectations, and also that Daisy feared that this would actually become a part of her damaging her own career by becoming a part of this project, and how it would further damage her career as an actress. And that Daisy is trying her absolute best to detach herself from the Star Wars brand for good in order to focus on other projects. Now, not just that, it's said that at one point in time, George Lucas and Jon Favreau even tried to keep Daisy on board on top of this new project that's currently in the early development phase, and Ridley only wanted to leave the brand in back of her mind because she wanted to get rid of that stigma, if you will, of what happened with the sequel trilogy. Now, aside from all of that, she refused to even hop on board with this project unless Boyega and Isaac actually were going to be a part of this, in which they are not returning, and that if they did return, she would have actually considered coming back into the Star Wars world. Now, it's noted that not long ago, actress Daisy Ridley was replaced by, of course, Keira Knightley as Rey Skywalker in the new Rise of Skywalker sequel series that is currently in development as we speak. Now, it's described that they are aiming to create an older version of Rey in the new series for Disney Plus that will take place some years after the events of Episode 9 and will be a show that will go throughout the ages. Daisy was actually replaced as Rey Skywalker for multiple reasons, given that Daisy no longer wanted to be in Star Wars, as well as how no agreements were made on financial negotiations. It's described also that Keira Knightley will be providing facial scans as the new Rey Skywalker, where new CGI work will be done to give her a somewhat older design in the show. Now, Daisy Ridley getting replaced as Rey Skywalker also had to do with Ridley's grudge against Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy, given that Kennedy was also responsible for deleting so many of her scenes from episode 9 while they were in the middle of shooting the actual movie and more. It's noted that though they chose Keira Knightley to replace Daisy Ridley as Rey Skywalker in the new series, Keira will be bringing a brand new performance for the character of Rey in this new show that takes place many years after episode 9 that will come in animated form. Now, on top of that, it's described that also Daisy Ridley did not join this project for another new reason behind the scenes, and that this all had to do with Daisy Ridley being afraid that she was only going to be known as Rey as an actress throughout her acting career that would impact on her getting new roles in the film industry. Keira Knightley is described to portray an older version of Rey and will play a mother of 2 new Skywalkers in this new project for Disney+. Now, it's described that Lucasfilm is in the early stages of development for the Rise of Skywalker sequel series that is set to replace actress Daisy Ridley as Rey Skywalker with actress Keira Knightley, who also in the past was a part of Star Wars in Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. It's described that the main reason as to why Daisy Ridley was replaced as Rey Skywalker with Keira Knightley taking over the role had to do with Daisy having creative differences with Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy and handling her character poorly from the sequel trilogy films that caused a tension on the set for Episode 9 some time ago. However, not just that, but also Daisy Ridley was tired of acting as Rey Skywalker and did not want to return to Star Wars, since both John Boyega and Oscar Isaac refused to come back to the franchise. Keira Knightley is set to provide facial scans for Rey Skywalker sometime in early 2022 that will be used for the planned 2023 release on Disney+. Currently, of course, Favreau and Filoni are working on a number of both animated and live-action Star Wars projects, one of which is currently labeled as a Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker sequel project that has been in development since 2020 and is said to begin to go further into development by early next year. Now, The Rise of Skywalker sequel is set to become a brand new series that will be in animated form, however not like Rebels or Clone Wars, but in a lifelike fashion that is going to dive into the events after Episode 9 and Rey's journey to rebuilding the Jedi Order. Now, though Daisy Ridley is said to be in negotiations on her return as Rey to do the voiceover work and motion capture sequences, Disney's backup plan, if of course Daisy is not able to do this or ends up holding no interest, is that they have plans for actress Keira Knightley to step in to voice the role of Rey. Now, aside from that, it's described that a project currently in the works recently replaced Daisy Ridley as the character of Rey with actress Keira Knightley for the untitled Rise of Skywalker sequel series that is set to debut sometime in 2023.